Welcome. My name is Jeremy Sutton from PrecisionPrinciple.com, and in this video, you're going to learn about the single most powerful technique to learn anything fast. When it comes to accelerated learning, the single most powerful technique to learn more quickly is to practice remembering. Now, I know that sounds simple, but you won't believe how powerful this technique can work for you if you just use it. For example, how many times have you had the experience of reading something, of learning something on the internet, and then when you went to recall it, it just wasn't there? That's because even though the information came in, you haven't practiced remembering it yet. So if you want to be able to remember more information, you need to practice remembering. It makes perfect sense, right? Now, what happens is that your brain does have that information sort of in there, somewhere in the background. But the hard part is that you don't have the strength of the neural pathways to connect your conscious mind to that information. So if you want to improve your ability to recall information, you got to actually practice recalling that information. So, for example, one of the strongest things you can do is just to stop in the middle of what you're learning, in the middle of what you're practicing, and think, what did I just learn? If you can't remember what you just learned in the moment that you read it, or the moment that you heard it, then you're probably not going to be able to remember it the next day, the next week, the next month, or whenever it is that you actually need to use that information. So there are a couple techniques that can help you recall better all the time. Number one, come back to a subject day after day. Because, for example, let's say I learned something today, and then I come back to it tomorrow. Well, before I can pick up where I left off, I have to remember where I left off yesterday. This is one of the main reasons why it's a lot more powerful to study for 20 minutes every single day rather than study for 2 or 3 hours on one day and then take many days off. Because if you study a lot but then take a lot of time off, then it's very difficult to remember what you learned. Not to mention, if you have a lot of information that you studied, it's really difficult to remember all the different ideas that you covered. However, by contrast, if you learn just a little bit today, and then tomorrow you remember that idea, and then you practice again for another 20 minutes, and then tomorrow, the next day, you do the same thing where you remember it again. Now you're recalling every single day. Every single time that you recall, you're strengthening those neural pathways, and it's going to be a lot easier to remember those ideas in the future. Perhaps the easiest way to lock in this learning is to do a learning recall in writing. Now the brain is a multisensory organ, right? So when you just think about an idea, that will help you remember the idea. So just thinking, what did I just learn, and going over that will help. However, when you write those ideas down, you're going to lock in that idea even better because you're practice remembering, you're writing it down, connecting that sense of touch, and you're looking at those ideas while you do it. So this is going to incorporate more of your senses, which is going to help lock in those ideas even more deeply. So the question is, how often should you do these learning recalls? And the answer is, as often as you need to. Right after a study session, or even during a study session, is a great time to practice remembering. Because if you can just stop right there while the memory is still fresh and practice remembering it without looking at your notes, then you're already doing one run over that neural pathway. At the end of the study session, you can do it again. What did I just learn? Oh, there was that, and this. In fact, when you finish this video, stop and think, what did I just learn? I guarantee you will remember better if you do this. If you're enjoying the information shared here, then head over to PrecisionPrinciple.com where you can find the ultimate guide to accelerated learning. In this free ebook, you'll find more than 170 tips, tricks, and techniques to lock in learning as fast as possible. So thank you for joining me. In the meantime, keep learning, keep growing, and make every day count.